It's Holden, it's Keg and Kush, nukethehouse.com. Go check it out if you get a minute. Good to see Keg again. Today we're going to get into the AFC North, AFC South after we broke down bets or futures bets from Keg for the AFC East and the AFC West, although I did have one bet in that one. What's going on, Kegger? We got a lot going on with the site. We've got people signing up. We got people yet to sign up. We've got articles up already. We've got shows up already. Talk to me here, brother. I know you're knee deep in NASCAR as well. You're trying to get caught up for this weekend's races, but I'm excited to talk about these two divisions today, especially the Ravens, man. I'm really interested in your thoughts on them, but we'll get to that in a second. Talk to me, dude. What's up?
Yeah, this launch is not good for my wallet this weekend, but we're here. We're here. So far, so good. People are joining the site. Hopefully we get the rest of Patreon members in this week. We got to get another like 80, 90 people in there. And then, we'll be off and running.
Wonderful. I hope a couple of you got the email today, the email newsletter. And we'll get that out to you more, but enough of this BS. Let's get into this, Keg. We got a lot going on in our lives. We got a lot going on in the AFC North. And we'll start with the Ravens, a team I thought had a chance to win the Super Bowl last year. Obviously didn't pan out for them. To make the playoffs minus 260, forget about that. To miss the playoffs plus 205. Win totals 10.5. Juice to the over at minus 22. Win the division plus 145. And they're 10-1 to win the Super Bowl. Third shortest odds behind Kansas City and San Francisco. A couple questions I have about them. Derrick Henry, what does he have left in the tank? I did like what they did in free agency. They had a lot of defections, especially on the defensive side of the ball. The safeties are actually in a better spot now than I think they were last year. Kyle Hamilton, all-pro, and Marcus Williams as well. So let's break this down. The Baltimore Ravens, like them, hate them, any bets? Talk to us, Keg.
Yeah, I think they're going to be very good this year. I think Lamar Jackson comes into the year off another MVP award that he didn't really earn. He was very good last year.
Oh, ho.
Oh, stop. Come on,
He
man.
was the most productive quarterback during the regular season.
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
like, first of all, Purdy,
why does he deserve the MVP?
That award shouldn't have been taken away from Brock Purdy, in my opinion, for that one bad game in the rain. That's number one. Number two, the MVP of the league is McCaffrey every year. So come on, let's be real.
Well, that's why Purdy wasn't the MVP, because he wasn't the most valuable on his own team.
Yeah, but if it's a quarterback award, right? Then Brock Purdy probably should have won that award based on the numbers. I'm just not a Lamar Jackson guy.
I know you hate him.
I think he was very good last year, but he lost 3 starters to that offensive line from a year ago. And it was an offensive line that was ranked in the top 10 in both pass block rate and run block win rate. So, an offensive line is probably more important to the Ravens than any other team because of how much they run the ball. But they're really going to need Rosengarten, who they drafted, and Josh Jones to step up because it isn't ideal this year. Obviously, they lose Gus Edwards. They lose J.K. Dobbins. Like you said, in comes Derrick Henry to fill the role. He had a good season last year. Like you just said, I just don't know how much tread could be on the tires for Derrick Henry. He could be a downgrade because Baltimore already had the 3rd best run game in the league coming into this year. So we'll see. Eventually, Henry's going to fall off a cliff, but he looked solid last year. The weapons on this team, a little worse than league average. The 2 bright spots, Zay Flowers, obviously, Mark Andrews, the foundation of the offense. But, I think other than that, they leave a little bit to be desired. The defense, always going to be a quality product under Harbaugh. And when you look at where these defensive units are projected to finish league-wide, they should once again easily be a top 10 defense in this league. The front 7, I think, was 7th in pressure rate last year, and they now have 3 first-round picks in that secondary. It's stacked. They're close to a top 5 unit, that secondary. One thing I will say, is that the Baltimore Ravens have a very hard schedule, and it's the biggest discrepancy in the league from last year to this year. They had a far easier schedule last year, but in a tough division, the future, I think, continues to look bright for Harbaugh and the Ravens. I've got them winning the division this year. I'd give them the nod over the Bengals. They feel more of a complete team to me. As far as the win total, it's 10.5. Feels a little low to me. My gut says that they're probably an 11 or 12 win team. I'm not going to run to the window to bet it, but I don't mind it if people out there like this team, because they probably go better than 10-7 this year, in my opinion. So, yeah, I don't mind their season win total. Not sure if I'll pull the trigger. I don't mind their division price either, around plus 150-ish. But, it's going to be tough because Cincinnati's going to be good too. But yeah. I like them.
So we'll get to the Bengals next, speaking of schedules. But first off, like button to be wonderful. Help us with whatever an algorithm is. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Nuke the House, and you will get notified every time we go on, give you a show, whether it be live or actually they're all live, right? So they're all live shows. It doesn't matter. And you'll get notifications. You can get some great information from Keg and our other cappers like Coop and Matt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Live is the website, nukethehouse.com. And we are still going to be making a lot of money live betting, everybody, live betting, because we are now giving out real-time in-game betting notifications. Anytime Keg lays a bet down, he goes to his phone, he places the bet, he sends it to you. You get it on your phone. It's as simple as that. You don't even have to watch our live shows. Although I will put a disclaimer out there again, you're going to get the best number watching the shows, but you're still going to get a good number in all likelihood. If you don't, and sometimes, Keg, they get a better number, don't they? Once in a while, once in a blue moon.
True. Once in a blue moon. Yep, for sure.
Let's get to the Bengals, or the Bengals as the rest of us call them. Make the playoffs. Is this true? Minus 225 now, plus 180 to miss them. 10.5 is the win total. Juice to the over at minus 34. Win the division 165, plus 165, where the Ravens are around 150. Win the conference 750, 15-1 to win the Super Bowl. So I found this is Warren Sharp. He goes, the Bengals had one of the 12 toughest schedules faced by any team since 1979. And nobody won more games than the Bengals in that scenario. And then you look at it this year, a team that kind of started out slow, right? New England, Carolina, Washington, Kansas City. So 3 of those 4 games definitely winnable there. It's going to come down to Burrow for me. Can they protect him? They fixed their offensive line, at least going out and putting some bodies in there. They've got Zach Moss and Chase Brown at running back. We know about their wide receivers, minus Tyler Boyd, who's on the move, and we'll talk about him later in the show. But where are you sitting now on the Bengals? Because I think you like them a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals were dead last year before they got out of the gate because Burrow's health was an issue last year, and it put them in the position where they can never really get locked in and really start to roll. So I think that the good news for the Bengals is a healthy Joe Burrow usually translates into a completely different team. And that was with the Bengals having the second toughest schedule in football last year. So this year they have one of the easiest schedules in football. If the health of Burrow isn't an issue this year, I think the 2 biggest issues for the offense and defense are the running backs room and the secondary. I think both are ranked outside the top 25 in unit projections, but every other room in the building is rock solid. I'm not sure which running back is going to get the start, but I'm a huge Chase Brown guy. In my opinion, I think he's much better than Zach Moss. If Moss starts over him, I'm not sure what Zach Taylor is thinking, but I think Chase Brown is going to be an upgrade from Mixon if they give him the run. The receiver room, like you said, pretty much stays the same with the exception of Tyler Boyd. They need to fill the role, the number 3 wideout. But other than that, I think they're in good shape like they normally are. The front 7 has talent on it, but they finished 29th in yards per carry allowed and 26th in yards before contact allowed per carry last year, which is not great. So they have issues to work out, but it helps that a guy like DJ Reader won't be there, and Sheldon Rankins will. So I think that will help the team. Biggest issue for this team by a country mile is the secondary. They allowed 8.1 yards per attempt last year, literally dead last in football, and they were 22nd in EPA per dropback. They end up losing a Woozy, who will be replaced by the draft, plus a couple additions I think they're going to get at safety. I have my concerns about this team, Kush, but they're the second best team in the division, and if they really get locked in, they're capable of playing at a level right up there with the Ravens. As the futures go, no opinions on the win total. The plus 150 for them to win the division is interesting. Same price about as Baltimore. But it's tough to take them over Baltimore at the beginning of the year. One bet that I kind of like is T. Higgins over 875 yards for the year. They tagged him this year. And I think with Boyd no longer on the team, he probably gets a few more looks a game. And even if he doesn't, we're only asking him to go for 50 yards a game, which is not a big ask for him. So I like that bet. But as far as the win total and the division, I'm going to stay away for now, but I don't mind the T. Higgins bet.
Yeah, Trenton Irwin, Jermaine Burton, Iashivas, all these guys. Actually, Iashivas will be there too. Gesicki, these are some more weapons that Joe Burrow has to work with. Let's move on to our third team in the division, and I like the T. Higgins bet, by the way. Let's give a like button, a little subscription to the YouTube channel here. The Browns, to make the playoffs plus 140, to miss a minus 76. Win total's 8.5, so we're looking at a 500 team here. Over is minus 138, unders plus 12. Win the division plus 450, 17-1 to win the conference. For the Super Bowl, 35-1. So to me, I start with their defense. I mean, this is one of the best defenses in the league. They're not getting any younger. Myles Garrett's still there, though. And we saw what Schwartz did when he came in last season. The other one is, what the hell are they doing at quarterback? Because if Deshaun Watson doesn't rub one out this year, it's over.
Touche. All right. So here's the thing. I have a love-hate relationship with the Browns because in so many ways they remind me of the New York Jets. Like where the Jets were last year with when Rodgers went down and they didn't have a quarterback. Listen, it's not going to be easy for the Browns. They have the third toughest schedule in the league this year, and the quarterback that had all the magic on this team a year ago is currently in Indianapolis. Now, if you want me to pretend to live in a world where Deshaun Watson comes back and looks like the quarterback that he was in Houston, I could do that for you. Or we could be honest and say he ruined his career because, he was a big crank and yank guy. Either way, you choose, right? So the good news for the offense is Nick Chubb will be back off that significant injury that he suffered in week 2.
But time out. When is he going to be back to being Nick Chubb, though? Because he had a devastating injury.
Devastating. That's the question. Is he going to be 100%? I can't imagine after that injury that that's even possible. But an 85% Nick Chubb is still better than a lot of backs in this league. So I think that, offensive line lights out top 3 in the league. The wideout room, average. But the Browns defense, anything but. They are projected to have the number 1 front 7 in football. They are projected to have the number 1 secondary in the National Football League. Their average total last year was 38, and it's going to be it's probably going to be lower this year. And like I said, they really remind me a lot of the New York Jets with slightly worse weapons as a whole, and obviously no Aaron. But they have a similar vibe to me. Without question, if the Browns had a legit franchise quarterback, they are a Super Bowl contender tomorrow. But they don't. Well, the win total is 8.5. Do they have the personnel to win 9 games? 100%. But it's all going to come down to Deshaun Watson. I was close to betting the over because I think they're really good if they had a quarterback, man. But I ended up passing on it, and I ended up having no bets for the Browns. But what do you think? Do you think that Watson could be Watson?
I do. I think is that the talent's still in there. I think what really made everybody excited about Deshaun Watson, though, is that he was a great fantasy player. Like, that was a dude that just runs around, chucks it up, team would be down, he'd throw the ball, he'd end up with some pretty big numbers. I do think they just got lightning in a bottle with Joe Flacco last year. And you saw a guy that just chucked the ball down the field, and they played defense and they ran the ball. And I think it worked. So if Watson can even play at a Joe Flacco level from last year, they're going to be a really good team. Now, as far as Nick Chubb goes, just reading the news on him, decent chance he starts on the PUP list. That's 4 games. No definitive word yet. But Jerome Ford stepped in last year and was terrific. So I'm not really worried about that. They did bring in Jerry Jeudy, and I'm wondering if we finally see him getting out of Denver, showing up and being the immense talent and putting it together on the field. So,
but
for Jerry Jeudy.
He just never was what he was supposed to be, Jerry Jeudy. No.
Very disappointing. Yep. So what would be the best bet, or a lean, or anything with the Browns?
I lean that they go over their win total. I just don't feel good to bet it because of the uncertainty around Chubb and Watson.
Keg, after you take a drink of your 9th energy drink this morning, I'm sure.
Yep.
Why don't you tell people about the site? And I'm going to throw some comments up here on the board, since there are some fine individuals watching our show. What's going on with the site? NukeTheHouse.com.
Next Thursday, August 15th, you guys could go sign up for the site. You could use Nuke, the promo code Nuke25. It'll get you 25% off the first payment. We're going to have daily articles, the most live betting streams on earth, 25 plus hours a week, daily picks. We're going to have a futures page, parlays, if that's your thing. We're going to have the game plan, which is all our comprehensive betting guides. And obviously the community, which is a huge part of it. So I encourage everybody to come check it out, sign up, at least try it for a month, see how you do. Last year, we made 158 units in the NFL, betting 1 unit max risk, which is fucking impossible. And we made 340 units on the year. So I encourage everybody to come and check it out. And we'll be live tomorrow all day for the NASCAR race and the UFC. And then Sunday, we'll be live for premium members for the NASCAR Cup Series.
Now, if you think, and I bust Keg's balls a lot, maybe I need to stop, but I'm not going to yet. Iowa, the power stash is starting to show from young Keg. Matt says he's not going to be ready for the beginning of the season. Oh, that was Nick Chubb he was talking about, not your mustache. Is your mustache going to be viewable by the
I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I'm literally only doing this for my guy.
Who?
Iowa. He told me that we will win more money if I go into the year with a power stash. So I'm testing it out, man.
This is a great strategery by you, because you already built it up so much over these last few years. You're up so much in the NFL. And then this guy wants you to grow a mustache. And if it doesn't work, you just shave it off and blame him.
Oh, yeah, 100% it's on him.
Yeah.
All I do is win. It's got to be on him.
How about the power mustache, baby? Like button. Let's go. Like it. Leave some comments when we're done with the show, or even right now. That'd be great too. Last team in the AFC North, the Steelers. Are they going to make the playoffs? Because if you think they are, plus 172, missing the playoffs, minus 215. This team, they got some questions. 8.5's the win total. Juice the under at minus 150 to win the division, plus 750. 25 to 1 to win the AFC. 50 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. Mike Tomlin still has not finished under 500. So the couple questions here: is it Russ or Fields at quarterback? And then TJ Watt's healthy. That's terrific. They added Patrick Queen. They took him away from Baltimore. How good is this defense going to be? Because for me, I keep going back to this. Buffalo's one of those teams that I think the Chargers, they're going to run the football, play defense. We'll see how long they can do that for. But the Steelers are another team here. Let's play some defense, get to the quarterback, force turnovers, have a decent special teams, run the football. If you get anything from the quarterback position, I think you're good. Is everybody too down on the Steelers?
You know, the thing about Pittsburgh is like they're always going to keep you in a game because of that defense. It's just so dynamic. But let's start with the quarterback room. So obviously they got a facelift. They signed Russ and Fields. Both quarterbacks started last year. One of them will be on the bench. All signs, I would assume, are going to point to Russ getting the nod at quarterback. But I think it's the wrong move, man. First of all, I think he's washed. And I think Justin Fields is young, but the kid has a ton of potential. He is not as bad as people want to clown this kid for being. Like, he can throw dimes, he can run. He just needs to be more consistent. And like, I understand why the Bears let him go, because the way contracts are structured in this league, it's in a way where you have to hit on a superstar during the rookie deal so you can lock them in for life. But if you're just okay in that gray zone, you can't spend $40 million a year on that guy. So you have to repeat and try again. So I get it, but I still think he has the potential to be a very good starter in this league at some point. So the Steelers are in a position where, you know, like you just said, they only need an average offense to be somewhat successful. They just need to let the defense do them, not make a ton of mistakes. Now, can Wilson do that? I guess we'll find out. But the weapons outside of Pickens and Freiermuth are atrocious. They have the 29th ranked wideout room in the league. That's not ideal. And like, Najee Harris is cool and all, but he's a 4 yards and a cloud of dust guy. He's never going to look like Jahmyr Gibbs ever out there, right? So like, the offensive line, I think, is also going to be an issue. They Broderick Jones, Fontenot, Zach Frazier, they've all been on the team for a year or less. So while it's awesome for the future of the team, a young new line with moving new parts does not track out as a dominant offensive line until they get a couple of years under their belt. We know about the Pittsburgh defense. Actually, we shouldn't say the Pittsburgh defense. We should say the front seven, because the secondary is below average. But the front seven is absolutely elite, right? So I think we can count on Tomlin to do what he always does. Go 500 with an average football team, because that's exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers are. So, you know, I don't think they're a crappy team, but, you know, they're probably going to be the third or fourth best team in the division this year. No play for me on the win total. I think that the total's 8.5, and I think that they're either going 9-8 or 8-9.
Oh, thank you so much for clearing that up. Really appreciate that, Keg. Way to not toe the line on an 8.5 total.
Yeah. I'm towing the line. Because it's a tough call.
Okay. Our website's live, soft launch right now. Just the people watching the show, our Patreon members, Nuke 25% off your first payment if you want to go stop by. We got Spread in here. Spread Astaire G. Farrar. His real name's Greg. I just remembered that for the first time. I've known the guy for almost 5 years. So I'm excited about remembering and saying. And by the way, Matt, Joey Porter Jr. is a badass. The problem is they got 3 other spots there that they got to take care of, plus a nickel. Little bit of work. We are going to transition to the AFC South. Keg, the Houston Texans. We spent a little time talking about them yesterday on the AFC East and West show. We got to talk about them again. They just burst on the scene. CJ Stroud exceeding all expectations last year. Can he bounce back? That's a big question. And do it again. Maybe gets better. Minus 188 to make the playoffs, plus 52 to miss the playoffs. 9.5 win total. I wonder if you're going over on this one. Over is minus 150, though, to win the division. Basically even money. 8-1 to win the conference. 15-1 to win the Super Bowl. Again, Keg, just look at the weapons on this offense. Stroud. They bring over Diggs. Nico Collins is a stud. Tank Dell coming off injury. Stud. Dalton Schultz, terrific pass-catching tight end. Joe Mixon. I know you don't like Mixon, but I think he's an upgrade over what they had with Singletary and Pierce last year. So that's something. They brought in Danielle Hunter, who replaced Jonathan Greenard, who was their sack leader. So Hunter should be pretty good. Stingley, cornerback, the young cornerback, he's an elite talent now. This team, good coaching, all arrows pointing up, Keg. What do we think about the Texans and any bets here?
My guy, the Houston Texans are my jam. Okay. They are my jam. So listen, I'm the biggest Stroud guy walking the earth. That's not a Texans fan. So I'm a little biased here because I think Stroud and Mahomes will be Manning and Brady for the next decade. Obviously, Burrow.
Hold on, Manning.
I'm telling you right now. I said what I said. Did I say what I said?
What is he? Is he Peyton Manning or Tom Brady?
Probably Manning. Probably Manning.
Who, by the way, was probably the better quarterback.
Right, but the championships. Right, exactly.
Okay.
Now I say that with the caveat that obviously Joe Burrow and Herbert might have something to say about that, down the line when it's all said and done. But, well, I mean, Justin Herbert is a special thrower of the football. He just hasn't had a shot with a
He's
coach.
Closer to Deshaun Watson than Peyton Manning.
That's fair. That's fair.
Thank you.
Yeah. But listen, rookie quarterbacks just don't throw for 4,100 yards and a 5-to-1 touchdown ratio. And he did it with weapons that were not even healthy for the year. Nico Collins missed time, like you said. Tank Dell missed time, like you said. He missed the back half of the year, really. So, like, when you consider that everybody's healthy now, then you add Stephon Diggs and who was a number one on the team for years, right? Plus, you got Schultz. You got Robert Woods and Noah Brown are your number 5 and number 6 option. Like, it's insanity. Plus they have a better than average offensive line. The only thing I don't like about the offense, like you said, is the running back room. I'm not a Joe Mixon guy, but you're probably right. He probably is an upgrade over Singletary. The defense is projected to be average. They are projected to have the 14th best secondary, 17th best front seven. That's basically all you need when you're hanging 450 plus yards a total offense every other week. And like you said, I think Hunter, I think the Nico Autry will help that defense a little bit. They're playing one of the toughest schedules in the league, but I don't expect any type of sophomore slump from Stroud because he didn't look like he was playing above his skis. He looked like this is the kid that he is. So in terms of props, I bet the Houston Texans to win the Super Bowl. We gave that out at, I think, 17-1. I don't know what the number is now. I bet Stroud at MVP. We gave that out at 16-1. I don't know what that is now.
It's 15-1 to win the Super Bowl, by the way.
Okay. And obviously the over 9.5. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, am I saying that ticket's going to cash? No. But I'm saying that there's value in that number. That's all I'm saying. And that's why I pushed the button. In terms of the win total, 9.5 is too low. So yeah, I think they're good for 10 or more this year, despite being, in a division that's not that easy. I mean, the Colts are going to be good. Jags could always show up, but I still think they're going to get over that win total. We did bet Houston to win the South at, I think I want to say like plus 180 earlier in the year. And now I think they're like, what are they, even money to win the South?
Yeah, plus 105. If you would listen when I introduce each team, you'd know all these numbers.
Sorry.
No problem. Says the guy that has the attention deficit disorder.
So yeah, I'm all about the Houston Texans. I like them. I think they are the best team in the division. I think that they're going over 9.5 wins, and I think Stroud is special.
Yeah, I'm with you. 10-1 Stroud to win the MVP. So there you go. You got another great number on that one. He's Keg. I'm Kush. Nuke the House. Our website's live. We're not telling everybody about it, but you guys, if you found us and you've been with us, you know that. NukeTheHouse.com. We do have a special code for you that if you were Patreon members or still Patreon members for the next day or two, and you did not get an email with that code, make sure you hit Keg up or me in the Discord. Just say, hey, man, I want my subscription. I want my deal. And we're going to give you that deal for 50% off the lifetime of your subscription as long as you're with us. So that's good. What up, Jason Grahams? Good to see Graham over here. Just got out of work. We're talking about your Texans. Let's go. Everybody likes your Texans. Everybody likes your Texans. Make sure you sign up for our subscribe, I should say, for our YouTube channel, Nuke the House YouTube channel. Like button would be great too. We move on to our next team, the Indianapolis Colts, plus 34 to make the playoffs, minus 164 to miss the playoffs. 8.5 win total, juice slightly to the under, minus 118. To win the division, 3-1. Win the conference, 25-1. To win it all, 55-1. They just had a little injury with Josh Downs, one of their wide receivers. I think their number 2 option in the passing game this year. He could be down as much as 4 to 6 weeks. But Anthony Richardson, for now, is healthy. Jonathan Taylor not holding out, so he should be a full go, unlike last season. And the secondary, though, this is every day there's a new article about the secondary and how bad it is for the Colts. And that is not going to be good news against C.J. Stroud, and that is not going to be good news against the rest of the AFC. The question is, can they overcome that, Keg? And how special can Richardson be if he can take care of himself? Because he did not do that last year. Remind me a lot of Robert Griffin III. Guy just runs into tackles and didn't know how to get down.
Yeah. That's a great comparison. Listen, when Anthony Richardson hit the league, I told everybody in our Discord that we are going to bet his anytime touchdown every single game, every week, that it's above plus 150. We bet him the first 3 weeks of the year, cashed every one of them, and then he gets hurt in week 4. But I liked what I saw from the kid. He's very raw, you can tell. And the more games he logs, I think the more games that he will progress. But the question is, can he stay healthy? If you're going to run that much, can you stay healthy? Now, I planned on going right back to his anytime touchdowns this year, but I was concerned whether they would really let him go. But the coaching staff said, we are not changing a thing. We're going to throw that injury out the window and just assume everything's good. Now, obviously, Jonathan Taylor, it's worth noting, did not play last season, the first 4 weeks when Richardson was on the field. So he could very well take some red zone attempts away this year, which he will. But it's still something that I plan on targeting, just for people as a side note. One of the themes this team had last season was not being able to stay on the field. They were one of the most injured teams in the league last year. They were just outside the top 5. We know that the offensive line is one of the strengths of the team. They have a top 10 offensive line, no doubt. But the weapons in the passing game is a liability. Like Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, and Mitchell just are not good enough weapons. Like, is Michael Pittman a true number 1? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, he is.
Okay. Okay. So your second best wideout on the team is gone for what could be almost half the year, 6 weeks.
No, from now. So probably
4 to 6 weeks from. Okay.
Yeah.
So
we had to backdate it.
Josh Downs as your second option and Mitchell as your number 3. I just don't think that's good enough. I don't. Like, I think they're going to have issues. The defense, front 7, strong, top 10 squad. They added a great piece in the first round with Latu out of UCLA, but they need to be better getting to the quarterback. They stop the run much better than they get to the quarterback. But the liability you nailed from the door is the secondary, bottom 3 in the league, in almost every metric in the secondary. So, 58% completion percentage against on plays, where teams threw 10 yards or more, not going to cut it. So futures bets, I don't mind the price on the Colts to win the division because it's plus 320. Now, I think the Texans are better. I went with the Texans, but I think the Colts are a good team, and I think they're live in this division. At the price, I don't mind it, but I went with Houston. I don't mind their season win total over here either. I think that they're probably a 9-win team this year. So I think they probably get over 8.5 going through their schedule. I passed on it because I went the Houston route, but if people like Tennessee, I don't mind it.
I mean, did you see their schedule last 5
Indy,
games? New England, Denver, Tennessee, the Giants, and Jacksonville.
That's exactly why I said it. Because down the stretch, it's not that hard. So, if they can get the front half of that schedule going a little bit, I think they can get over 8.5 wins.
Let's get into our next team then. We only got 2 left. The Jacksonville Jaguars plus 124 to make the playoffs, minus 52 to not make the playoffs. 8.5, another 8.5 win total, over minus 15, under minus 105 to win the division, plus 270, 23 to 1 to win the AFC, to win it all 45 to 1. So they've got a better number to win the Super Bowl, or a shorter number to win the Super Bowl than the previous team we just talked about, the Indianapolis Colts. But couple things from the Jaguars, because honestly, I don't know what to make of this team. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Just some news out of camp. Parker Washington, rookie wide receiver last year, didn't do anything. He's blowing up. They absolutely love him in camp right now. They do switch to a 4-3. And this is the other interesting thing about taking CJ Stroud overs. First of all, he gets the Colts in week 1. He gets the Jaguars 2 times as well. And outside of Tyson Campbell, this is another secondary that's an absolute debacle.
100%.
But think about this for a second, Keg. The defenses that Stroud gets to face, we're only talking about 4 games. We haven't gotten to the next team yet, but Stroud's got some guys he can pick apart. Where are you on the Jaguars?
Dude, I'm low on the Jags this year.
Okay.
And I'm even lower on Trevor Lawrence in general. Ooh. They should have never paid that kid out on that contract, because if you look at the analytics from a year ago, the numbers say that he's not particularly good at football. Can I shit on Lawrence for 60 seconds? Okay. The stats I'm going to read you, Holden, are based off expected points added per attempt. Okay. Trev was ranked 25th in the league against under pressure, 26th in the pocket, 15th in non-play action downs, 16th with less than 2.5 seconds to throw, 34th outside the red zone, 42nd under pressure, 22nd outside the pocket, 27th in play action, and 45th when under substantial pressure. The dude is not good, bro. He's not that good. So people need to stop blowing this kid, because according to the numbers, he's average at best. They lost Calvin Ridley, but they did get Gabe Davis. They do get Duvernay from Baltimore. That's going to help for sure. We know that ETN, total stud. They have a running game on lock. The offensive line has room for improvement. They're projected to be the 23rd best offensive unit in the league. That is not a good sign for a guy that struggles throwing the ball under pressure, like we just said. The defense is a tale of 2 stories, exactly like you said. Phenomenal front 7, awful secondary. When you combine all that, they play the 2nd toughest schedule in football. It makes me think under 8.5 is the way to go. And to be honest, I like the alternative under 9.5 much better. I think if you could tie it to something just to get that juice down to something reasonable. I have to think more on it, but I might pull the trigger on the under win total for the Jags because I think they're going to struggle.
It's not a good football team, according to Keg. I'm still a little bit up in the air, but again, the secondary is not good. And what happened to Trevor Lawrence? Like, he was the greatest quarterback ever his first 2 years in college, and it just hasn't panned out to this point. Maybe they protect him. Maybe he gets better. If that happens, then this is a legitimate contender, and I kid you not. But I mean, that's a big. His question mark is almost as big as Deshaun Watson's question mark.
Yeah,
in all likelihood. So we got one more game to get to. Want to remind everybody, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Nuke the House. You can get notifications, turn those on. So when we do our live shows, we also would love you to hit the like button. And our website's up, nukethehouse.com. Nuke 25% off your first payment. That's nice of us to offer you there. And if you're a Patreon member, you've been a Patreon member, you know you're getting grandfathered in at half price. If you haven't done that yet, hit us up, and you didn't see the code, we'll get you the code. Last team to talk about is Tennessee Titans. I mean, I'd say there's a middle of the road secondary if we're talking about secondaries in this division, but it's not a good team. Plus 390 to make the playoffs, minus 550 to miss the playoffs. The win total is just 6.5. Under is the juice at minus 128 to win the division. Plus 950, 65 to 1 to win the AFC, 150 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. So your thoughts on Will Levis is what I'm most interested in.
I was just going to ask you.
Well, here's the problem. Their right guard, was the right guard or the right tackle? Just one of their right offensive linemen just retired. They've got two guys with massive question marks that they need to fill the starting roles on the right side of the offensive line, right? So that's a little bit concerning. You got Will Levis. What's up with him? Ridley, Hopkins, Tony Pollard they brought in. They
got Boyd.
Tyler Boyd, and I know you like Tyler Boyd a lot. So they've got guys around him, although I do question whether or not Pollard's going to be able to carry. Tyjae Spears looked pretty good in relief of Derrick Henry last year, and it's actually probably a 50-50 split. So the real question is Will Levis, and where do you sit on him?
I don't know. I wrote in my notes, like, ask Holden what he thinks about Will Levis. Because
I'll tell you what I really think about
Let's go on. Oh, yeah, I want to hear.
He's got a cannon. He's going to turn the ball over a lot, and I think, he's a poor man's Joe Flacco.
Yeah, okay. I could buy that.
Yeah.
I could buy that. Like, let's go under the assumption that he's going to be good, okay? They have the 31st ranked quarterback room in the league, but let's say that he's good.
Okay.
The biggest problem that the team has are the trenches. The offensive line is projected to be in the bottom quarter of the league, which is an issue for a young quarterback. When they're 30th in pressure rate, 28th in yards before contact allowed. The good news is they got Chessenberry. They drafted J.C. Latham out of Alabama. That should help. But they still have a long way to go, I think, to be competitive. The weapons aren't awful. Like, they rank in the top half of the league in both running backs and wideouts. Henry gone, right? But they got Pollard. What did you make? Like, Tony Pollard wasn't. I shouted from the rooftops for years that it's a crime that Elliott starts. Get him out. Get Pollard in there. But man, he kind of shit the bed last year. He was not that good last year. What did you think about Pollard?
Not that good. He wasn't hitting holes.
I know.
I mean, it was very disappointing. And sometimes it seemed like he was a little confused as to what he was going to do, which was shocking because I'm with you. Like, for years, Tony Pollard's so much better than Zeke Elliott. He finally got a shot. He flamed out and they got rid of him.
He did.
So, yeah, I'm very disappointed in him. I think Tyjae Spears is going to get a lot more work than Tony Pollard as the season goes on. I think Spears is going to win that job.
Okay. Wide out room. Hopkins, dinosaur, but Ridley and Boyd, I think, will help.
Hopkins is still really good. He's not healthy.
Yeah,
he's at this point a great possession receiver.
Yes, exactly.
Great.
Exactly. He's what Larry Fitz was late in his career right now.
Okay.
Probably, right?
Not in his last 2 years, but maybe his last 4 years, 3-4 years from retirement. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So the defense, front seven, absolutely dreadful. They might, no joke, have the single worst front seven in football last year. It's close. The good news is they get Snead, Murray, Awuzie. That should help them. That should help them get better. The secondary is definitely the strongest part of the defense last year. And I think this year won't be any different. As far as the win totals go, it's 6.5 right now. I got to tell you, I feel like it should be like 5.5. I'm not sure if I'll bet the under 6.5, but I don't mind it. I lean under 6.5 for the Tennessee Titans this year. I think that they're going to struggle unless Will Levis takes a massive step this year. If he doesn't, then I think they're going to struggle a little bit.
Would you pay that price minus 128?
I would shop it first, and then I'd have to think about it.
Yeah, Brian Callahan's got a lot to. He's got a lot on his plate, taking this team over as the head coach for Vrabel. No question about that. Okay, my friend, that is the AFC South, AFC North. If you missed or you just want to watch it again because it was such a great show, AFC East, AFC West. That's already up on YouTube. We're cutting that up too. We'll go by division. Next week, NFC North and South, NFC East and West. We'll get that going later on next week as well. Keg, nukethehouse.com, soft launch. Right now, the diehards are watching us. We haven't really thrown anything out. So if you want to get in there, Nuke 25% off your first payment. If you're a Patreon member and you want the half price, make sure you hit us up in Discord or check your email. Hopefully the email's in there as well, my friend. Any final thoughts on your best bets here? Would it be T. Higgins over 875.5? Would it be Texans Super Bowl? Would it be Jags under 8.5 and 9.5 with a parlay? What do you got?
I would say from this division, I would probably go with the Colts over their win total and the Texans to win the division.
Okay. Colts.
Now, we got a much better price, but I mean, I still think anything plus money is fair for Houston to win the division this year.
Hey, go check out the site, nukethehouse.com. Get in there if you want. For Keg, I'm Kush. Let's nuke that house.